What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Mr. Everything, Victor Andrews, and you guys are listening to Wrestling Nostalgia.
Greetings and welcome to Wrestling Nostalgia with Dave Dynasty. And of course, that makes me Dave Dynasty. Thank you for joining us. And by whichever means you do every week, we are free on every podcast platform imaginable. If you can't find us, you're not looking. So just look us up wherever you might be and listen to Wrestling Nostalgia along with the other shows here on the Dynasty Wrestling Podcast Network. Let's touch on some new stuff real quick. Talk a little bit. Of course, the biggest thing right now that everybody seems to be talking about is still the buzz coming out of AEW's All In. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. We're not going to do a review, blah, blah, blah. But let's talk about the debuts. That's what we want to hit on here. Ruby Soho shows up on AEW. I'm very happy to see that. Of course, Ruby from the Midwest. I remember her as Heidi Lovelace, getting her start, trained by Billy Rock. She's a great person. She's a great talent. I'm very, very pleased to see her get an opportunity to really shine. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think she's really going to get a chance to show how talented she is. So I was very happy to see her. Of course, I don't think any of these things are surprises, right? Everybody thought that all these appearances were going to happen, much like the CM Punk, but it didn't really take away when you saw it. You knew you were seeing something important. And then, of course, Adam Cole shows up, which we suspected, right? Because Adam Cole is friends with a lot of people there. Of course, his fiance is there. Brett Baker. Hopefully, I don't know. I love Adam Cole. He's one of my favorite talents in the world, and I hope they use him well. I'm really afraid he's going to get caught up in some of the goofiness and take some of that shine off of him that he's had. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And of course, the biggest debut that people have been waiting for, Bryan Danielson shows up in AEW. I am super excited about this. Now, we all know I'm not the hugest AEW fan in the world, but they are turning my head here lately. Let's get that, they've missed on a lot of marks since their debut for me, but they're starting to really hit them. And I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see the things that happen and develop with CM Punk. I'm excited to see the things that develop with Bryan Danielson. And it's going to be good stuff, I believe. And I'm really pleased that once things are a little better shape in the world, see some of the opportunities that Bryan Danielson might have to wrestle in Japan and Mexico. And, as we've talked all about this Forbidden Door thing, right? That's this new catchy phrase that everybody seems to use. But it's going to be really exciting to see someone of the magnitude of Bryan Danielson get the opportunity to show up in some of these places. So I can't wait. I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see some of the matches he's going to have there in AEW. And it should be fun. It should be exciting. And we should be able to see, Bryan Danielson do what he does best, and that's wrestle. That's what he does. I know he said something about it, about kicking people's heads and wrestling and blah, blah, blah. That's the truth, man. That's what he does. In the ring, he is one of the best in the ring. So it's going to be fun to see that. Of course, when things like this happen, it has a lot of people in the world turning their heads, looking at the WWE and say, hey, what's going on, guys? The shows have been struggling for a while. They're losing a lot of talent. They're releasing a lot of talent, some of which are real kind of head scratchers. And people are discussing, well, are they ready for a sale? Getting ready for a sale, or what's happening here? And I think this is the fallout from them spending so long and thinking that they're not a sport-based company. And I'm not saying, I understand. People are saying, well, it's not a competitive sport as in other sports, but still, they're athletes. Let's don't get that wrong. And they're losing touch of that and leaning more into the entertainment side, thinking that because they make, as Vince McMahon once said, they make movies and they make TV programs, that they can replace these guys with anything, right? That if they put anybody that looks good in there, that, they can tell them what to say, tell them what to do, and it's going to be okay in the end, and they can make stars that way. And the stars are merely replaceable cogs in their wheel. And I don't think that's showing that that's true, right? They've been the only, dog in the fight for a long time. And now that there's somebody else that's there that's, nipping at their heels, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And I think you're going to see that, man, you got to let these people, their personality come out. You've got to have people that have the passion for it. It's a difficult business, right? It's a unique lifestyle to have, even in this day and age. And someone has got to want it. You can't just plug somebody in there. You can't have somebody coming in thinking that they're just going to get rich quick based on their athletic talents or their looks. And that's what what it is. And that's what you get now. You get athletes from other things, other sports, and models that think that. And, I don't know. You have to have a love for the business. You have to have a passion for it to really come through in the product in the right way. I am very excited that they did just debut Bronson Rex Steiner, which is Rick Steiner's son. They will be calling him Rex Steiner, and I love that name. That is so cool. He looks like such a badass. Looked like there's a little bit of the bright color kind of tie-dye, not tie-dye, but that wild look that the Steiner brothers had in the 90s on their tights, that Rex will be, kind of maybe tipping his cap to in his attire. I'm very excited to see what he does in NXT and beyond. I think he's going to be a big star once again if WWE allows it. So anyway, that's what we're going to hit on the new stuff. We're not going to get too bogged down in it. You will hear the commercials for us on social media and how to support the show. Please do that. That's join the conversation, support the show, keep it free. I'm not going to drive it into you right now. You'll hear it again in the ad coming up, the plug. So do that. We have a great show today. We have Mr. Everything, Victor Andrews, on the show. Professional wrestler, model, actor, martial artist. He does a little bit of everything, and he's a talented guy, and a guy that you're going to want to keep your eyes on. So that's all I got to say right now. So let's take a break. Let's tell you about the social medias and the way to support the shows. And when we come back, my co-host Ike Isaacs has that interview with Mr. Everything, Victor Andrews. Be sure to follow the Dynasty Wrestling Podcast Network and all of the participating podcasts on social media. The easiest way to find us is on Twitter. You can follow the network at WrestlePods, and you can find all the individual shows at their Twitter accounts. You can find the Wrestling Nostalgia Show at Wrestle Nostalgia, the Ring a Ding Dong Dandy Podcast at Stampede Pod, and the Wild Men Podcast at Wild Men Podcast. Also search us on Facebook for pages and groups. Participate, interact, join the network, and be a fan. Thank you for your support.
And welcome back to Wrestling Nostalgia with Dave Dynasty. I'm your co-host, Ike Isaacs, and today I am joined with Mr. Everything, Victor Andrews. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right, man. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you on here. But we'll go ahead and dive right in. So one of my favorite questions to always ask folks to get these interviews started off right. When you first started watching wrestling, who were your favorite wrestlers to watch?
Oh, my favorites have always been like Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker. When I was real young, Hulk Hogan, definitely Ultimate Warrior. Randy Savage. So a lot of the '80s wrestlers that came up. So I'm an '80s baby, so those were my top ones. But my very, very utmost top wrestler of all time is The Undertaker.
Oh, absolutely. You cannot go wrong with Undertaker. I can count dozens of matches that, I feel like The Undertaker always has a good match, pretty much. So I can't remember what year it was, but it was a few years ago that he had his WrestleMania streak broken, which was against Brock Lesnar, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I just, oh man, I have my opinions about that. I guess I understand why they did it, but I hated that so much.
I still don't understand why they did it. That's one of those we don't even speak about anymore moments.
Right.
Like, I don't understand why. What was the purpose?
Right. Let's just bury that. Never talk about it again. Oh Lord. But kind of along the same line there. Obviously, I feel like every wrestler at least likes some wrestling, right? But eventually, you watch wrestling, you get involved, you start wanting to do things, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I want to be a wrestler. So at what point did you just say, yeah, wrestling's hooked me, I want to be a wrestler?
I don't want to say it just necessarily hooked me. I watched it as a kid. I loved it. Was it a dream of mine? Not necessarily. What ended up happening was I saw a show in North Carolina ran by Dan Wright, and I was like, oh, okay, they actually have wrestling like locally. So that's what kind of grabbed my attention, is the fact of seeing it locally. And I was like, okay, well, this is something I can actually get a chance to do. So I jumped in there after I did boxing and MMA for a good while, and that got boring. And then so I started training in New Jersey with Lady Lee, and then I moved to North Carolina and started training with C.W. Anderson.
Wow. So you kind of already had that background, and like you said, if I remember correctly, you've trained in you said MMA and boxing. It was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I thought that's what I had read. But awesome. So I mean, you already had that that passion. You had a little bit of love for wrestling from your childhood. You had that physical background because obviously wrestling's pretty physical, but boxing and MMA are incredibly physical. So you already had some of that, backbone for wrestling. So when you started independent wrestling, how did you kind of bring those elements from boxing and MMA into your wrestling?
Well, some of the things that I had to forget was not falling on my back.
Right.
Right. And boxing and MMA, that's the biggest no-no. Don't ever fall on your back because no guarantee that you're going to get back up. So just psyching my mind up to be able to do that, just to take the bumps and learn how to move around in the wrestling ring, learning different things, how to take a punch differently, how to take certain strikes. Like in boxing and MMA, your mentality is strike first or strike back or strike harder. Professional wrestling is more so of give and take. So I had to just get a lot of things and kind of just, like I said, psych my mind up to be able to do a lot of these different things and just make that transition.
No, for sure. Yeah, I mean that's definitely a big change, like you said. I mean, you got to learn how to fall on your back and be okay with it because especially when you're in that ring, boxing and everything else, like you said, if you fall on your back, you're probably not getting up. Oh Lord. But and that's actually really cool too because a lot of people who have those experiences, they're able to really mesh that in and bring it into their wrestling, and it kind of gives them an advantage in a lot of ways, which is awesome. But sort of on that same track, independent wrestling it's super exciting. It's a pretty incredible scene right now, I'd say. But tell us, what are your opinions on the best and worst parts about being a independent wrestler?
The best part is the interactions, the emotions, the memories, all the things you get to create, the camaraderie, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, just being able to travel. Like I grew up in Brownsville, a very tough project in Brooklyn, New York. So being able to travel all over the U.S. and see places I never heard of and see things I never thought was even possible or even existed is just amazing to me. So that's the biggest thing for me as far as independent wrestling. That's like the greatest things. But some of the worst things is it's so open. You know what I mean? Like anybody can become a professional wrestler. You got some of these, you've seen the stories, these pedophiles and these people that's just doing all this ridiculousness. Like everybody has some kind of background and there's no way to kind of track them until they do something stupid and you're like, oh wow, okay, you're that type of guy. So that's one of the worst things about independent wrestling is that it's so open and everybody can just find somewhere to go train at and get in there and just start doing it. There's no real background checks on that. So I think if we can figure something out with that, we can make it a lot better.
No, yeah, absolutely. Like I can't remember who it was I was actually talking this about, but I kind of had a similar sentiment. I was like, it's if you got some minor stuff that happened in your past, that's not a big deal. But there are some real bad people who somehow find their way into the business. And I mean, I guess that's how it is everywhere. But you're right. There should be something in place that, we could hold people accountable for because there are some pretty scummy people in the business, and they've got no business being in the business, if you will.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like it's people that you never think of too. Like I've
Oh yeah.
had interactions with guys and promoters that to the point where we're on the phone just talking, just chopping it up, seeing how the family's doing, and then something comes out about it, it's like, whoa, it's not the same guy that I actually spoke on the phone with. It's not the same guy that would call me up just to, vent a little bit about things that's going on in his life. It's not the same guy that I was willing to take my son around. Those different things. So it kind of catches your eyes like, yo, you know what? This is too open.
Right.
I've had my kids around somebody like this, right, and not know it. You know what I mean? So that's the big thing about it.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. Yeah. But on a slightly more positive note, you've made quite a few appearances all over the wrestling scene. I mean, we're talking Ring of Honor, NXT, WWE, among others. Tell us what those experiences were like to kind of, step it up a notch and step into some of those roles.
Oh man, it's the most spectacular experiences. My experience with Ring of Honor, the way I got that was a funny story. Steve Corino was a part of Ring of Honor at the time, and he was getting ready for this unsanctioned match with DJ Whitman. And so a couple of days beforehand, Steve asked me to give him a haircut and cut some designs in his hair. So, because I also do that on the side as well, I cut hair and like barbering. I said, yeah, sure. I gave him a haircut, gave him some designs, and he said, "Are you coming to the Ring of Honor show?" I want to say it was in Concord. He said, "You coming to the Ring of Honor show in Concord?" I said, "Yeah, definitely." So he was like, "All right, well, come to the show, bring your clippers, because I'm gonna need you to touch it up just so it looks fresh." I said, "Don't worry about it. I got you. And I got some other stuff I'm gonna do to your hair to make it stand out on TV." He said, "All right, cool." So we get there. I gave him a haircut, and then Kevin Sullivan walked up to me and was like, "Hey, you mind giving me a haircut and putting like a little X in the back of my hair?" I said, "Not a problem." I called him Uncle. So I was like, "Not a problem, Uncle." So he sat down and gave him a haircut. And then a couple other guys came up and said, "Yo, what you charging haircuts?" I said, "Yo, I'm just helping people out. Yo, if you want to just get a quick shape up, I'll give you a quick shape up. I'm not doing like full haircuts. I'll give you a quick shape up. That'll be it." So a lot of guys was appreciative of that. One of the production guys walked by and was like, "Hey man, you're actually out here giving like guys haircuts and shape ups?" It's like, "Yeah." He said, "How much would you charge me to do a haircut?" I said, "For you?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Give me a match." He said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Give me a match. I'll give you a haircut. I'll give you whatever you want." I said, I just want a match on TV." So he went back, talked to the higher up. They gave me and my tag partner at the time a 5-minute squash match with Shane Taylor and Keith Lee. And that was our opportunity on TV. And then after that, Steve went on to WWE. Of course, I always kept in contact with him. I was his champion of the promotion that he ran down in Jacksonville, North Carolina, called PWF, Premier Wrestling Federation. And he called me up. He said, "Hey, you want to come down to NXT, do some extra work?" I was like, "Yeah, definitely." So I went down there and they actually gave me a tag match. It was me and Lars Sullivan versus Heavy Machinery. Spectacular match, whole lot of fun. The environment was amazing. They welcomed me like I was part of the boys. One of the funniest moments about it was after I took the compactor from Heavy Machinery, I'm laying on my back, looking at the ceiling, and I see an NXT sign, and all I could think of, not the fans, not the fact that I just had a match, not the fact that I was on TV, but if someone could go and get my cell phone so I can take a picture of the NXT sign on the ceiling, because I didn't think anybody was going to believe that I was like, even though you may see me on TV, I didn't think anybody was going to believe that I was on TV. So that was one of the things that kind of always stuck in my head. Like the fact that I laid there and looked at the NXT sign, I was like, I want to take a picture of that.
Right. Hey,
And then,
that's funny, man.
yeah,
No, I was gonna say, I mean, it's like those types of things too. Like those are the kind of memories you want to keep.
yeah, absolutely. And then, after the match was done, Lars had this situation where he would just turn on his partners. So he turned on me, he beat me down, and then the referees were carrying me out, out to the back. When the referees tried to tickle me,
Yeah.
as we were walking to the back, and I felt somebody digging like under my arm. I was like, somebody trying to tickle me, and the guy was like, yeah, you're not tickling. I was like, nah. He was like, dang, I was trying to get you to break character before we made it past the crowd. And that was a big thing for me because I'm like, yo, this is my first time here. Nobody knows me like that. You only know me because he brought me in, and you guys are still trying to do a whole rib on me, like as if I was part of the family. So that was an amazing thing. Then when I did Monday Night Raw, across the Bobby Lashley sisters, crazy moment, dressed up like a woman, pretending to be Bobby Lashley's sister. I actually got a chance to beat him down a little bit before he turned, turned the tables and laid waste to all of us. So that was an amazing moment. One of the funniest moments is when I got back to the back and a good friend, Cedric Alexander, walked up. He was like, did you really play with your breast in your bra on live TV? I said, yes, I did. He's like, why? I said, do you remember me doing that? He said, yeah. I said, that is why I did it. If I'm going to be out here on TV dressed as a woman, I'm going to make it so memorable that that's all you're going to be able to talk about. And it's funny because um, one of the promoters here, Eddie McCoy from Ringwalk, Carolina, he just went down to Vegas for the WWE tryout. He was out there, I guess, helping out a spectating. And he actually had a chance to talk to Robbie Brookside. And Robbie Brookside asked him how I was doing because he remembered when I did NXT and I did the last sister. So
Wow.
it's been an amazing moment. I did SmackDown, had a chance to talk to Shinsuke Nakamura, sit down and sit next to him during catering, and catering is amazing. Oh my gosh, the catering is amazing. They have everything you can think of, they have it. And just sitting next to Shinsuke Nakamura and eating cereal, and he's eating ribs, and just talking about what we eat and who we are and where we were from and stuff like that. And I had an opportunity to talk to Shane McMahon because I stood out from everybody else. A lot of the extras wore black suits or dark colored suits, and I wore a white one. So he came up to me and pulled me aside and had a conversation with me to work in WrestleMania the night that Kofi Kingston won the WWE Championship, and just being backstage and hanging out and sitting at the same table as The Undertaker.
Wow.
Yeah, like
Wow.
that was a huge moment for me. Like I'm sitting in catering at a table by myself, and I see him walk in the catering. He's going through the line. He's making this plate, and then he ends up sitting directly next to me. And I was just like, yo, it just couldn't have been a more perfect moment than this. And of course, Kane came and sat next to him, and Big Show sat on the other side. And I was like, yo, I'm sitting next to these marvels, these monsters, these titans in the wrestling business. And it was just such an amazing moment.
Right. Wow. I could not even imagine. I would be so I would be not afraid, but anxious to be in the presence of people like that. You know what I mean?
The worst part about that situation, so catering is amazing. They have all types of foods and everything. But however, I don't eat a lot of different things. I'm very particular about what I eat, not because of a diet, just because I don't like a lot of stuff. Like I don't drink water. I eat a lot of fried foods. I don't eat vegetables. I don't eat fruit. So I'm just weird. I'm really weird. But I eat a lot of junk food. I eat pizza and all that different stuff. So, and I drink a lot of milk, tons and tons and tons of milk. So I'm sitting in catering, and I'm sitting at the table, and I'm in my mind, I see Undertaker walk in, and in my mind, I hope he comes and sits next to me. Like the entire time, I'm chanting this in my head. So I kind of think I felt like I manifested it because I kept chanting, I hope he sits next to me. I hope he sits next to me. And he's making this big manly plate with all his food and all these vegetables and breads and stuff like that. Meanwhile, I'm sitting at the table with a bologna and cheese sandwich, a bag of Doritos, and a Pepsi. I was looking like a kid in a lunchroom eating a packed lunch that my mom made.
Right.
Meanwhile, the Undertaker's there to come sit with me with a big manly plate of spaghetti and meatballs and grilled chicken and all these different things. And then Kane and Big Show comes and they got two big plates, and I'm sitting there with my bologna and cheese sandwich. a bag of Doritos and a Pepsi. And it was like,
Right.
I'm gonna go ahead and finish this as fast as possible and get out their way because I don't want nobody to look at me like, who's the kid?
Right.
I'm
Oh
not a
Lord.
kid. I'm 38 years old. That's right.
Hey man, I can't diss on bologna and cheese sandwiches. You know, sometimes you just gotta eat the basics. Bologna and cheese is a staple.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was good too.
Right. You're like, it was some good bologna. Oh Lord. Oh man. So I guess on a slightly different note, because we talked a lot about a lot of your different experiences in wrestling, some of the high notes and everything else. And you've had I would say, a pretty incredible career so far. But tell us about your son, because as I understand, he already has his sights set on his own wrestling career.
uh, so my son, uh, that kid is amazing. He is simply amazing. He's 2 years in from his very first show that he's ever worked as a manager for me. And everything that he does, everything he knows is self-taught. I haven't taught him anything. As far as running the rope, doing moonsaults now, doing shooting stars, like standing shooting stars. I mean, I can't, I don't do any of those moves. He just sees it on YouTube. He sees it in the matches. He sees it on the shows. He watches TV. He sees a wrestler that he likes on the indies and he watches their matches and, he walks up to him and he says, hey, remember this match you had with Sunset? And I look at him like, if he said if he said you had this match, he said, yeah, I remember. Even if you don't remember, just say, yeah, I remember. Because I'm guarantee you it happened. And, he's an amazing kid. Yeah, his sights is already set on a wrestling career. I'm starting to train him now because he has a wrestling match next year during Father's Day weekend down in Florida. He's been to Florida with it. He's going to go to California in November. This kid is amazing. I enjoy having this time with him. It's hard being a father and being on the road anyway. It makes it a little bit not so hard having him with me. So that way, when daddy's not home for these particular things, like let's say if I get signed and I can't make it to all the birthdays, or I can't make it to every Christmas and Thanksgiving, or I miss a Halloween or two, or he happens to get into another sport and I miss, some of the meets or games or whatever it is, he understands at this age, and hopefully it grows with him that this is what daddy does. This is what I've been used to this. I've known this for a long time that he can't be here all the time because he's doing this or doing that. So, it's a big thing. He's my youngest. I have three. My oldest will be 16 in November, and she got burnt out from it really fast.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely.
So, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, she went to a lot of the shows up to a certain age, and then after a while, it was like, okay, Daddy, you're missing gymnastics practice. You're missing my meets. You're missing my competitions. And now she's like, man, I don't like wrestling.
Right.
So it's almost like I'm trying to make up for it with my son in a sense, but not really trying to make up for it, if that makes sense. Like it's just natural. Like he loves it. He wants to go to all the shows. He enjoys being in the locker room. He creates his own character. He can be a baby. He can be a face. I mean, he can be a face. He can be a heel. It doesn't matter to him. He can transition from one side to the other with no problem. Um, he creates his own music with his little piano that he has in the room. He looks up beats on YouTube for interest music. Like he is so invested in doing this, mainly because Daddy does it, but also because he enjoys it so much. And it was a point where I wanted to kind of pull him back and say, hey, stop trying to do this, stop trying to do that, because I don't want him to hurt his body before he has an opportunity to actually do it when he's legally you know when he's the right age to be able to do it. So after a while, it's kind of like he's me. He's the new version of me. So I have that will where I'm not going to be stopped. No one's going to stop me from doing it. And he has that sometimes much. So I kind of, I kind of let him do his thing, but still kind of keep him grounded, keep him humble, and kind of pull him back so he doesn't have any injuries or anything like that.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, honestly, the more modern wrestling and everything else, there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff that folks do that can get you really hurt. So it's one of those
Hmm.
things too where you have to kind of be, cautious but optimistic, if you will.
Absolutely.
But so to kind of direct on even a different path than what we've been talking about, we talked a lot about wrestling, but we also want to talk a little bit about what you're like outside of the ring. Um, so you also have several acting credits on your resume. Tell us a little bit about your acting work.
I've been doing some acting and modeling for probably about 19 years, 18, 19 years. A lot of independent stuff, a lot of extra work as far as acting. But I've also been graced with and blessed to do some feature roles. One called Hoop. It's a kind of like a father son story type of deal. I play a neighborhood thug. Um, and then there's another movie called Brothers Turmoil that we just finished up. We just wrapped a couple of months ago. That's by Victorious Films, and that's set to be released, I want to say, by the end of this year. Um, it features me and the director, Victor Joyner, and a good friend of mine, Jacques Cartier, who I met through modeling. And we go out there, and Jacques is a police officer, and I'm coming back from, I think I'm coming back from like the military or something. And our brother gets killed by, some neighborhood thugs and stuff like that. So I'm trying to convince my brother to, forget his code of, police, his code that he's supposed to carry as a police officer and go out there and get the revenge of our, fallen brother. So it's a really good movie, really good story. And then I have a series out right now. It's on Amazon Prime and Tubi. And we actually just got a local deal with the TV station, and we got some stuff on YouTube called Shift Differential, and that follows the adventures of a guy who does Uber and all the different things that he gets involved with, all the trouble he gets into. And I also play a thug, and I play a lot of thug stuff, but I don't think I'm being typecasted. But it is what it is. So it's an amazing story. It's very funny. Have some comedy spots in there. One of the funniest things about it is I play this, this drug dealer thug, but I got hazel eyes, so I use my eyes as a tactic to hypnotize people to make them tell me whatever I want to know. So it's kind of like one of those different things that we've actually been playing with a little bit. Um, Modeling, been doing that for years. So I've been international model of the year, from a competition in New Jersey. Won a couple of awards, a couple of magazine covers, some spreads and things like that. So I've been doing a lot of different things here and there.
Wow. Yeah, so I mean, there's quite a bit of acting chops. I mean, and everything else. So that's pretty awesome. So I'll have to check that out though, because I have two, so I'll have to check that out on there.
Okay.
But right on. So that's awesome. So I mean, not only are you a professional wrestler, not only are you an actor and a model, but you got stuff on Amazon Prime and Tubi. Like there are people who could only wish that they could reach that level. But
I'm fine, man. Fine. I'm doing those things, and I still, hold several jobs. And I'm in school right now. I'm trying to get my bachelor's in exercise science. Should be done by this December, God willing. And then I'm also taking a course to get a personal training license. So I should be done with that within a month. And then next, I'm going to go into massage school and get my massage license and, be able to do massage therapy.
wow. So you definitely have a pretty full plate right now. That's for sure.
Absolutely. My motto is I can't be Mr. Everything if I can't do everything.
You know what? I mean, can't beat that. I mean, that's true. You got, to say jack of all trades.
Absolutely.
But well, obviously you have a lot of experience in the ring. You have a lot of experience doing things like acting and modeling, which truthfully, those types of things really blend well into wrestling. A lot of wrestling is part of the theatrics and everything else. So outside of that, we talk a lot about the character, the jobs, and everything else, but we also want to know a little bit about what you do in your free time. So what's something that maybe not a lot of people know about Victor Andrews?
Uh, you could probably guess I don't have a lot of free time.
Right.
I'm working two jobs, going to school full time, doing wrestling every weekend, training. I train with C.W. Anderson every opportunity I have. So that's probably the main thing I do in my free time is whenever I have an opportunity to go to the ring, I call them up, say, hey, you want some train? We'll go in there, I'll run the training session. He calls me a psycho because my energy doesn't deplete. It just increases the more I work out, the more I train. So he calls me a psycho. He's like, anybody about to be in here training with you for about 4 or 5 hours. Nobody has that type of energy. So he picks on me about it a lot. But mainly in my free time, I kind of just I sit at home. If I'm here by myself, I'll just sit in the quiet and kind of. I have this thing where it's like listening to angel radio, kind of listening to the world and the environment, trying to see what God is talking about today, and just kind of reconnecting with the spirit and everything like that. I may jump on the video game and play for a little bit. My girlfriend's son, he loves Fortnite, and they came to visit me a couple of weeks ago, and he made me download Fortnite on my PlayStation. I can't stand that game. I don't understand it. So he made me download it, and he created a character for me, and he built my profile up. Within 2 hours, he built from a brand new profile to level 23 within 2 hours. I was like, how in the world did you do that? You just turned the game on. So now that's one of the things that I like having something to connect with the kids. So my son, he has his Nintendo Switch, so we'll play Mario Kart against each other, or we'll play Super Smash Brothers. And then now I got the Fortnite and Warframe, so I jump on there and see if my girlfriend's son is on, and then I get out there and play with him for a little bit. So my free time is based around family, and that's pretty much in training. Family and training is all I can put my free time in, and God. That's it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I 100% commend that. Yeah, I mean, video games are fun. Video games are great, but you got to have that time too to kind of, I would call it like meditate and kind of center yourself and reconnect. That's always a good time to do that. That's incredibly important, not only for your mental well-being but also your physical.
Absolutely. We just lost Daphne. We just lost her to I think it was something with I don't want to what I'm saying, I don't want to misrepresent whatever's happened, but I think it's something with mental health with her.
Yeah.
So we just lost her today, so may she rest well. She definitely will be missed by a lot of people. I know CW is really good friends with her. So yeah, mental health is a really big thing, especially for wrestlers. We do all this traveling, we take all these bumps, we hit our heads a lot of times and don't even realize how hard we've actually hit our heads, and could be walking around with concussions and all types of different things mentally and not realizing until it's too late. So definitely anybody listening out there, whether you're a wrestler or not, just definitely find a way to take some time for your mental health and, kind of, talk to somebody if you need to. If you can't, do what I do, just sit in the quiet, and if you're able to. Not a lot of people can sit in the quiet because they say, an idle mind is the devil's playground. And I always tell people, well, the devil doesn't want to play with me because I don't get hot. So if he's going to come this way, he better bring a lot of heat. And I don't think he has enough heat for me. I tell people all the time,
That's right.
I've I've been banned from hell because the last time I went down there, I turned the heat up because it was too cold. So they don't want to really play with me anymore. So it's kind of get your mental health together in any ways that you can.
Yeah. Amen to that. Amen to that. That's good advice for anybody that's listening, whether you're a professional wrestler or if you're just doing the day, doing your job, doing anything else. Take time for your mental health. I 100% support that. But so I guess to kind of wind down just a little bit, we like to talk about the future. Everybody's worried about the future, what's happening next. But what are some goals for the near future of your career? You have anything that you want to accomplish? Anybody that you want to wrestle? What can we expect out of you?
I want to fight everybody. I don't want to get in the ring with people that's been doing it longer than I have or just started. I want to be able to showcase that I can step in the ring with any and everybody. I want to show that I am Mr. Everything. Whether I get signed tomorrow, 10 years from now, or if I don't, I just want to be able to get out there and say, yo, I got out there and I got busy. I got a couple of things coming up that I can't really speak about yet, but once it gets released on, once it gets released, you guys see it, you'll be like, oh wow, that's a different Victor Andrews. I'm really excited about the project, and I can't wait to. It happened in Florida, and I can't wait to go down and do some more with it. And it's not Fed related, so for anybody that's listening, they're like, "Oh, he's about to get signed." It's not Fed related. It's something totally different.
Right.
But you'll enjoy it. You'll see a different side of Victor Andrews. But long-term goal is to figure out this politics and see if I can run for president at some point. And that's a legit shoot. I really want to run for president and see what I can do to pull this world together, not just the U.S. I want to pull the entire world together because that's something we really need right now. We're too divided, and everybody's so worried about, oh, nobody's better than anybody else because we all die the same way. When the world ends, everybody's going at the same time. So let's figure out how we can extend as much time here as we can while we can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's a good policy right there. Like you said, bring everybody there. Nobody's better than anybody else. So, I mean, if you fall into the world of politics, I mean, politics are a very, tumultuous place to be, but, if that's the route you go, more power to you. I commend you for doing it for sure. And it's definitely not a profession for the weak of heart.
Absolutely, I've seen, but I think I can manage. I mean,
Right.
I have a very strong will. I'm very patient, and you can't just do whatever and say whatever. Like I'm very strong in what I do. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, Victor, it has been a pleasure being able to talk to you today. I want to give you just one last moment here to go ahead, and if you have any social medias or anywhere that fans can follow your career, I want to go ahead and give you a chance to throw those out there so folks can know where to follow you at.
Thank you. So my IG and Twitter, you can follow me at I'm_Mr. Everything. That's IM_MEREYTHING. I'm_Mr. Everything. If you guys want to follow me on TikTok, it's I'm_Mr. Everything_VA. I'm on Snapchat, and if you guys want to make it easy on yourself, just go on my website, VictorAndrews.com. That's TheVictorAndrews.com, and you should be able to follow all my social media stuff right from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So anybody out there who is listening at this time, go ahead and give him a follow. Go to his website, check it out, do all that good stuff because you won't regret it. He's got a lot of good stuff coming up, I'm sure. He's got a lot of projects, and even he said that he's got some projects that are going to shock us and all us. So definitely give him a follow. You won't regret it. But Victor, I want to give you another thanks for coming on here today. But we're going to pass it back to Dave Dynasty with Wrestling Nostalgia.
Support all of the podcasts here on the Dynasty Wrestling Podcast Network. The best way to do that is go to our Pro Wrestling Tees store. It is at ProWrestlingTees.com/The Dave Dynasty. There you will find all of the shirts that we offer. I Heart Old School Wrestling, Bruiser Buddy, the Podcast Mask shirt, and of course, the official shirts for the Ontario Wildman and the Ring a Ding Dong Dandy podcast. Visit ProWrestlingTees.com/The Dave Dynasty, order a shirt, and support the network. If you would also like to support, you can join our Patreon. It's at patreon.com/Dave Dynasty. There you will get exclusive audio and video clips, early releases on podcasts, and much, much more. And if you would just like to make one-time contributions to support us, you can go to paypal.me/The Dave Dynasty. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for listening. Continue to support independent wrestling podcast. All right. Welcome back to Wrestling Nostalgia with Dave Dynasty. Thank you to Victor Andrews for coming on and doing that interview. And thank you to Ike Isaacs for conducting it. Now, before we get out of here today, we have a new segment here on Wrestling Nostalgia that people seem to enjoy. Last week, we did a promo. We did our segment here, and it's called the Best Bad Promos of All Time in Professional Wrestling. Last week, we had the I don't know, man, the peak of it. Everybody knows it, the Jumping Jeff Farmer promo. We had that on last week, and people loved it. This week, we have a unique one from Chris Champion and Sean Royal, the New Breed. If you're familiar with the New Breed, it was a tag team that had this gimmick of they have traveled back from the future, and they're a tag team. They wore things on them that were supposed to be implants and different things, but man, this is a wacky promo, and it just shows the wackiness of the gimmick of the New Breed. And you know what? Let's just go to the promo. Here it is.
All right, with me now, the New Breed, Sean Royal and Chris Champion.
Was that beautiful or what, Crockett? The New Breed is something else. I want to say one thing. I've been a computer psychologist for quite a long time, but never in my years have I ever seen a malfunction such as the one with this Lasertron. His Series 5 implant and his CDU unit are messed up bad, and we're going to fix him with the Alvia solution. We're going to straighten him out, and you're going to be in cyber sedation, my man, and you're never ever going to have to worry about the New Breed, Boogie Woogie, or anybody else. And this Boogie Woogie reminds me of the fleshlings on Utopias. Big in the belly and empty in the head, my man. Tell him, Sean.
You know, as we went last week, we took our spare time and traveled to the moons of Beta. When we traveled and arrived there, we saw the grand wizard of all mind projection. We told him of our problem with the boogeyman and the robotic moped Lasertron. We said, what can we do? The only solution is a Series 5 implant.
You heard him. We'll be back with more.
Wow. Just wow. What more can be said about that promo from the New Breed? You know, I love science fiction, right? I love reading science fiction. I love watching science fiction. Even cheesy science fiction I enjoy. And that's what that reminds me of. The New Breed promo reminds me of some of the cheesiest science fiction of all time. I tell you what, it's nothing if not entertaining, right? I mean, that is it. The best bad promos. This week's installment is the New Breed. Talking about, whatever was it, something 5 implant? Man, I don't know. Visiting moons, it's something. Anyway, thank you for joining us this week. Thank you for listening. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms. We're there. You heard the ad earlier. Just find us and hit us up with a follow. And make sure you subscribe on whatever platform you listen to us. We are on all podcast platforms, so make sure you subscribe. Share the episodes when they're out. Help us grow and help us network. And if you'd like to support financially, you heard the details earlier. You can subscribe to us on Patreon, patreon.com/Dave Dynasty. You will get some perks in there, the episodes for free, episodes for released early to you on Patreon, among other things. Wow. And then also you can support with just one-time donations by going to paypal.me/The Dave Dynasty. Or if you'd like to buy a shirt, go to ProWrestlingTees.com/The Dave Dynasty. We got a lot of cool shirts there, not only for us, but for all the other podcasts here in the Dynasty Wrestling Podcast Network. So go buy a shirt and throw us a few bucks. Support the show. Keep it free. We don't run a lot of ads here. We don't plug 50 million things, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but we just don't do it. So make sure you keep us that way and help support us and keep things running here. I do apologize for my voice today. I am a little stuffy. My allergies and sinuses and stuff are a little acting up today. I know I sound a little weird, but hopefully it wasn't too bad. But again, thank you for joining us this week. We will see you next week. Next week, we have the veteran Jack Vaughn on with a great interview with him. You're going to like him, guys. He fits right into the wheelhouse here of what wrestling nostalgia and our likes are. So that's next week. But until then, wherever you go and whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.